Hey, it's Chelsea. Thank you so much for being here. In this video, we are taking a look at Pluto and Aquarius, but not just Pluto and Aquarius. We're also going to be talking about how we can integrate that Leo axis in order to bring more coherence into our lives. So Pluto and Aquarius, we're in it now. I mean, it's Pluto's going to be moving back into Capricorn September 1st until November 19th, 2024. But other than that, we are now in Pluto and Aquarius until 2044. So we're going to be talking about tools and wisdom that we can apply to our life so that we can move through this transit really embodying more of our power. There's just so much energy that we are able to harness throughout this transit. And if we focus on our internal systems, and if we focus on bringing coherence within, we're really able to make the most of this information, this technological revolution that we are in the midst of. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. So also, my intentions with this video is to give you information that you were able to apply into your life for the next 20 years as Pluto is moving through the sign of Aquarius. So also a lot of this information that I'm going to be sharing with you, I got it from the HeartMath Institute. If you haven't heard of them, I would recommend taking a look around their website. They have some really great information on their website. They also they sell this book that I have here. This is the cover on the screen, Exploring the Role of the Heart in Human Performance, Science of the Heart. This is their second edition, regardless. So you can purchase this book on their website, but you can also read it for free on this website. So I'll have that linked below. So Pluto and Aquarius, integrating the Leo axis and energetic communication, accessing wisdom and intelligence, Aquarius through the heart. Who is the HeartMath Institute? Since the early 1990s, the HeartMath Institute Research Center studied the physiological mechanisms, the heart, Leo, and the brain or nervous system, Aquarius, how they communicate. The heart influences not only our health, it also influences our perceptions and emotions. The HeartMath Institute were among the first researchers who studied how stressful emotions impact the autonomic nervous system, along with the hormone and immune systems. So they share how the heart affects mental clarity, creativity, emotional balance, intuition, embodiment, and health. So I felt like this information is just so important to share, because when we're moving through transits that are really activated by Aquarius or by Uranus, there's a lot of information that we are processing through our nervous system. But our nervous system, I mean, there are just so many systems in our body that our heart is like, I mean, it's part of the web. So Pluto is connected to magnetism, so we can attract or repel using the energy of using Pluto's energy, and Aquarius is connected to electricity. So I believe over the next 20 years, as we're moving through this transit, I believe that scientists are going to be creating new technology based off of electromagnetism. I also believe that we are going to understand this electromagnetic field that we are immersed in a much deeper way. And I mean, Aquarius is just so exciting because there's really a fine line between science and magic. So the heart, Leo, is the most powerful source of electromagnetic energy through the body. I mean, look at this graph here. So this is an image that was pulled from the HeartMath Institute's book. And it makes me think of Abraham Hicks. You know how she would always say, be in the vortex. Let's get in the vortex. Being in the vortex. It makes me wonder, is that actually something that can be backed by science? Is this what Abraham Hicks was talking about when mentioning getting into the vortex? Does that just mean bringing more coherence into our internal systems, which can actually be backed by research and science? So the electromagnetic fields encompass space, which is very Aquarian, and describe the electromagnetic interaction that occurs between all living things. So it is this cosmic soup that we are, that we're all immersed in. And so the heart, it's so much more than just, sorry if you hear weird noises, Pharaoh's on my lap. Um, but so the heart, it's so much more than our battery, than the strongest muscle in our body. The heart communicates with the brain and the body in 4 different ways: through our nervous system, neurologically, biochemically, through our hormones, biophysically, through pulse waves, and through energetic communication within the electromagnetic fields. And so, also something to keep in mind is that Pluto shows where generational disease will, like, we can look to Pluto to understand to understand disease and death that will be happening at a generational level, at a widespread level. And so, I suspect that some of these areas are going to be, um, really, they're going to be areas where we're having to put some of our focus towards. I mean, as a collective, I think there's going to be things coming up in these areas. So the sympathetic nervous system energizes the body's fight and flight response, which is indicated, so which you can prove through increased heart rate. So the sympathetic nervous system, it's helped humans evolve. It's helped us get to where we are today because it's protected us when there have been major threats within our environment. So of course there are people in this world today that live their lives in with immediate threats within their environment. But for a lot of us, we can induce the sympathetic nervous system in our body, through stress, through emotional stress. And over prolonged periods of time, these chemicals that are released in the body, this electrical signaling that's going on in our body, it can really pay a toll on our body. It can start really attacking itself. It can cause a state of disease, dis-ease, or incoherence in our body. So then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms us down and slows the heart rate. So this can be induced through meditation, light exercise, yoga, connecting with nature, or our pets. And so the parasympathetic nervous system, this is a state of healing for our body. When we are relaxed and tapped into this state, our body is able to heal itself. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, our body is not in a state of healing. It's in a state of survival. So this understanding is just such an important core understanding to have as we're moving through Pluto in Aquarius, because Aquarius is the nervous systems. So the heart communicates with the brain and body biochemically through the hormones it produces. It's so much more than just our battery. And in 1983, the heart was even reclassified as a part of the hormonal system because it manufactures hormones and neurotransmitters that impact the entire body. So if we're going to be talking about the nervous system, we've also got to talk about the heart. So there are these areas, these 4 areas to keep in mind, because this is all about coherence. How can we bring coherence into our body? How can we bring this healing state of harmony into our existence? So there are these 4 areas that we have to factor in order to bring a whole entire coherence into our body. So that's physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And as you can see, they all overlap. And so it's really important just to understand what it is that we need. I mean, I personally think that factoring in these areas of our health, because health is so much more. I mean, we hear mental health is almost like a buzzword nowadays. Of course, our physical health is important, but we have to really remember that our emotional health is very important too. I mean, there's a lot of understandings. I mean, if you go into the work of Dolores Cannon and many others, they say that, I mean, even there are so many people that are talking about this, about how our emotional pain, our emotional blockages over time when we really succumb to those energies, to those emotions, it can it can create a state of dis-ease in our body, a state of incoherence. And if our emotional state is out of whack, it's going to throw off the whole system. So I mean, I personally think something that I'm working on is figuring out every day, how can I apply these areas of focus into my own personal life? Like, what can I do every single day, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, that is going to fulfill me? So when we talk about our physical body, and so, okay, so let's give an example of how these can kind of like feed into one another. And it's such a personal experience, and we really just have to understand what it is that we are moving through in any particular time to understand how we need to support ourselves. Because, all right, so for example, with physical exercise, say someone is working in an environment that is high stress, that when they get home from work, it's like, just say so, like I can picture this person who's just drained from work, who's got a short fuse, who can be easily triggered. It's important to understand what can help balance that. So if you have a job that is very demanding physically or mentally, or that's just demanding, it's important to understand, well, how can I remedy that? Do I want to add do I want to add another dynamic of stress through a workout? Do I want to do a stressful, high intensity workout? Or maybe would a nice, relaxing walk after work be more suitable, and maybe save the high intensity for the weekend, not necessarily after work? Or, it's important to understand that this is something that's just so personalized, and that we have to pay attention to understand what we need so that we can be filling our cups accordingly. Or, for example, say we have a mental, like a very rigid mindset, and we're not flexible. We aren't willing to compromise, and we don't necessarily look towards how we can bring innovation into our lives. We're kind of stuck. Um, then how could we bring more flexibility into our lives in other ways? Through yoga. And then so over time, as we assist our body in maintaining more flexibility, our mind is just going to is going to follow suit. And and then that's another thing too. So for example, say you have a hard time focusing, which with Pluto and Aquarius, there's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of static in our environment. So how is our attention span? How is our ability to focus? Well, if we're kind of struggling in those areas, in order to remedy that, something that we could do is go for a walk without our phone, without any sort of technology, and really unplug. Um, so those are just a couple examples of how to incorporate this into our lives, and to understand that it is kind of like a balancing scale, and it's important for us to really tune into ourselves, to kind of tune out the noise, and to just go within, to really understand what it is that we need, how we can support ourselves in bringing more coherence and harmony into our lives. And so, I mean, these are things too. It's like spirituality is having a practice where we are able to connect with God every day is so important, especially as this external world is getting more and more chaotic, and it feels really unstable. And so leaning into our spirituality is a great way of creating a stable environment within ourselves. And yeah, and something else, are we intolerant of others' values and beliefs? Especially because, I mean, 2024, it's election year. Um, so I mean, it's just a very polarizing time. So how are we able to move through this polarizing time in a state of coherence and of harmony, and of not contributing more chaos to what is all this experience that is already very chaotic? So whenever I talk about the nervous system, I love plant allies. I feel like we need all the support and the help that we can get on Earth right now. And so there are two categories of, well, I guess there's a few. Okay, so first of all, we've got nervines. Nervines are some of my favorite ways of just really tapping into that parasympathetic nervous system, at least with the relaxing ones, really calming our body and inducing a state of healing within our systems. So nervines are their class of herbs that they support our nerves. So the relaxing nervines, so some of these examples that I have here, kava, which is great too if you're looking for an alcohol substitute. We have passion flower, blue lotus. Um, so also we also have chamomile, lavender, which chamomile and lavender are so gentle they could even be used on children. And so, I mean, I would definitely suggest having some nervines on hand, whether it's through essential oils and diffusing them or burning beeswax candles with lavender, body oils, teas, powders to add into smoothies. All of these different ways are like all these different things are really helpful in supporting our nervous system. Because, I mean, when you think about our nervous system, imagine like the roots of a tree, and all of the roots, they can get frayed over time, they can get damaged. And so nervines support our body in healing these damaged nerves. And then we also have stimulating nervines. And so I think that these are really helpful to kind of ease off of coffee. I mean, I have nothing wrong with coffee. I had coffee today, but I understand my body enough to know that if I feel like my nervous system is out of whack, or I feel like my body is just constantly in a state of stress, I don't want to have coffee. Coffee is not going to help me. And so there are these other, so we have ginseng, rhodiola, cordyceps, suma, Shisandra, also blue lotus. Blue lotus has either a stimulating or relaxing effect, depending on what it feels like the body is needing. And so, yeah, these are really great ways to just support our nervous system. So, I would suggest if you feel called, researching different herbs, understand how you can use them topically or consume them. Um, AnimaMundiHerbals.com. I get a lot of my herbs from there. They're very high quality. They are sourced from parts of the world where farmers have been growing certain things for generations. And it's a really great business that supports really great farmers, very important farmers all over South America, Central America, Asia. Um, so take a look at their website. They have some really great blog posts relating to health, relating to the nervous system, and different herbs that we can use to support our health and our nervous system. So you can also use code Chelsea15 to save money. And so mushrooms. I think over the next 20 years with Pluto and Aquarius, we're going to also have a deeper understanding on the abilities of mushrooms. I know there's already a lot of information out there today, but so also look at this, look at the image behind me, or just look at this. So that's not a nervous system, that's the mycelium network of mushrooms beneath the ground. And so you can see how this is so similar to our nervous system. And so we can use things like this, like mushrooms, to repair those parts of ourselves, to repair our nervous system. And now that I'm talking about this, I completely forgot to add adaptogens. Those are the two classes of herbs that I find to be really helpful. But some of these stimulating nervines, those are also known as adaptogens. So adaptogens, they literally help our body adapt to a stressful or a changing environment. And yeah, so mushrooms, I mean, I think they're so helpful. I can tell when I put lion's mane in my coffee versus when I don't. It just really helps kind of create it's more stabilizing. It doesn't feel like there's like a big crash or a dip. It feels yeah, efficient, and it's not it's not jarring. It's like it helps ease the body to the effects that coffee can have. And I think mushrooms are so important. Pharaoh gets mushrooms too. And yeah, these are very powerful superfoods. So I suggest, yeah, just learning about different herbs, about different tools that we can utilize to move through these shifts in a state of coherence. Yeah, I'm excited to see what research or understanding comes out over the next 20 years regarding mushrooms. Carry on. Okay, so according to a Mayo Clinic study of individuals with heart disease, physiological stress was the strongest predictor of future cardiac events, such as cardiac death, cardiac arrest, and heart attacks. Three 10-year studies concluded that emotional stress was more predictive of death from cancer and cardiovascular disease than from smoking. Isn't that crazy? That is just so crazy. People who were unable to effectively manage their stress had a 40% higher death rate than non-stressed individuals. That's a big difference. And it's so crazy because obviously we know how damaging smoking is. And there's even I don't know if they do it in America, but I know in England at least they had pictures of the effects on the packaging, like what can happen if you smoke a lot. And we all know how damaging smoking is, but we never talk about how stress can bring on death or disease more than smoking. That's wild. 3 10-year studies. So, however, humans are not limited to the fight, flight, and freeze responses. We have the ability to self-regulate when we encounter challenge and stressors. But it's just so important that we understand how to move through these states. So thoughts and even subtle emotions influence the activity in the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system interacts with our digestive, cardiovascular, immune, hormonal, and many other bodily systems. So, with that information, if thoughts and subtle emotions influence the autonomic nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system interacts with our digestive, cardiovascular, immune, hormonal, and other systems, then through our thoughts and subtle emotions, we're able to we're able to shift our body's experience through all of these different systems. Negative emotions, negative feelings create disorder in the brain's regulatory systems and autonomic nervous system. And so that's kind of what I was talking about before with the fight and flight response and all of those chemicals and electrical impulses going on in our body, creating that state of stress and where it's really breaking down our body. So feelings such as appreciation, feelings such as appreciation create increased order or coherence in the brain's regulatory systems and autonomic nervous system, resulting in improved hormonal and immune system function and enhanced cognitive function. So just by being grateful, by having thoughts, more positive thoughts and emotions that we're able to control, we're able to initiate those things, then we're able to improve our hormonal and immune system and enhance our cognitive function. That is wild. We're able to impact these very big systems that have such a dynamic role in our body and in our experience through leaning into feelings such as gratitude. And that's something, having feelings such as appreciation, like these are very subtle changes that we are able to make in our day. I mean, something as simple as the first 10 minutes when you wake up, just list things that you are grateful for, starting your day that way. And I think what a lot of this is saying, what I'm telling you right now, is that as we understand how to move through the stress in our lives, we're able to self-regulate. We're able to support ourselves. So, for example, like if you have a stressful day, are you reaching for a bottle of vodka or are you doing deep breathing exercises? And so this is how we are able to greatly control ourselves, like have control over our environment. Our body is our environment. Um, so a lot of this is like it's in our decision making. And I mean, Aquarius, it is the mind, and Pluto, it brings a focus and it brings a power to these areas. And I believe that a lot of us over the next 20 years are really going to understand just how powerful our mind is. And I know that we already do understand the power of our mind, some of us, but it's going to be at a level that we haven't even experienced yet. It's really going to elevate. And yeah, I mean, it's just it blows my mind that through thoughts and subtle emotions, we're able to influence this activity that's going on through our nervous system. And through that, it's just, anyways, okay, so the autonomic function imbalances. Look at all of these things that it's associated with. So when our nervous system is out of whack, all of these things, this is what we can experience: depression, hypoglycemia, panic, sleep disorders, asthma, fatigue, dizziness, nausea, digestive issues, chemical sensitivities or allergies, anxiety. All of these things have to do with our nervous system. And so, again, if we're able to influence our autonomic nervous system through subtle feelings, subtle emotions, and thoughts, then we're able to impact all of this. So, coherence. What are some, let's look at the definitions of coherence. Clarity of thought, speech, and emotional composure. The quality of being orderly, consistent, and intelligible. Synchronization, synchronicities, or entrainment between multiple waveforms, a constructive waveform produced by two or more waves that are phase or frequency locked. What does that make you think of? Binaural beats. There is healing within certain frequencies. We can obtain a state of coherence by immersing ourselves in certain frequencies, and we can also obtain a state of incoherence by immersing ourselves um in chaotic and in okay, so entrainment, going back to entrainment. So you know when you have a room full of those old school grandfather clocks, and so when you first put them in the room, they're all ticking in different times, but eventually they reach entrainment. They reach a space where they're all clicking together. They reach that coherence. And I think that just goes to show us how coherence is, I mean, it's this natural state of the universe that we are able to tap into. And but sometimes it just takes moving beyond ourselves, because sometimes we can be the ones creating that state of incoherence within ourselves. And I mean, usually I think that's what's going on. um but so something else that I think is going to really be unlocking in a very powerful way over the next 20 years is sound healing, because all of that's going on in the frequencies, tuning forks, singing bowls, um binaural beats. So, being in a state of coherence implies connectedness, consistency, and utilizing energy efficiently, which efficiency, that's connected to Aquarius and the ruler of Aquarius, Uranus. And I mean, Uranus, it creates chaos in order to create more efficiency. It's like when old outdated systems and structures collapse, which is why Aquarius follows Capricorn. Capricorn is the systems and structures, and then Aquarius is bringing innovation and efficiency to the outdated systems and structures. So this is a state of wholeness where the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. And I think that that is something very powerful, and very powerful to remember as we're moving through this transit of Pluto in Aquarius, is it's a state of wholeness where the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. And that's such an Aquarian thing, is all of these different systems that are seemingly separate, but that are operating in a cohesive way. It's like we have our hormonal system, our digestive system, our cardiovascular system, and they're all seemingly doing different things, but they're all doing it together. Incoherence is being in a state of disorder, chaos, stress, and inefficiently using energy. And so incoherence, I mean, that is when we think about the lower octaves or the more challenging energy that Aquarius and Uranus present us with. It's incoherence, it's disorder, it's chaos, it's stress. But eventually, or sometimes, we need that incoherence in order to show us what is out of balance, because sometimes things can be happening just so beneath the surface. And I mean, Pluto is the energy of what's going on beneath the surface. And so it's like we can just get used to something. We get used to doing something a certain way and we outgrow it. And we don't realize that we've outgrown it though. So we continue doing it just because we're used to, until it's like that state of incoherence is just so obvious. Something's got to give. And that's really the energy too of those fixed signs. It's understanding when you need to change, essentially. So let's talk about, have you seen this chart before? So I forgot the name of the guy who created it. This I just got online. This isn't from the HeartMath Institute, but it goes along with their energy, with the information that they're sharing. So as you can see, all of these lower emotions or more negative emotions like shame, guilt, grief, fear, I mean, you can really feel in your body. You can feel it contract. When you can feel it, it's like your body's trying to get smaller. It's trying to like hide a little bit. As we're moving through those emotions, it contracts. And it's just really pulling things inwards. It's preventing this expansion. It's creating these blockages of flow. It's like it's making it so that the energy can't really flow. And I mean, those bottom areas of this chart, that is really what creates the state of disease in our body. And it's in a state of suffering. We're not able to thrive when we're operating through those emotions. It's like, it's got to get to a point of, am I going to allow a situation, or am I going to allow something from the past continue to impact my present, to continue to impact my future? Or am I going to move beyond those energies through my choice? I have the choice to override those emotions. Of course, we're going to feel them, but there's like, so that's the other thing. There's, I wish I remembered exactly. Let me just Google this really quick, because it's like feelings in our body. How long do emotions last? Because emotions don't last long. They're like clouds coming and going. They're like waves. An emotion is a chemical process associated with our body, subconscious. An emotion comes and goes quickly. It biologically lasts only 90 seconds. Other than that, it's like that's when we start harboring these feelings. They turn into, so it's like these emotions, they last for 90 seconds. Moods can last hours. But so it's like when we have these negative emotions that come up and we get stuck on them, it changes our mood. When it gets stuck in our mood for prolonged periods of time, then it's changing our personality. And when it's changing our personality, it's changing our personal reality. I'm pretty sure Joe Dispenza says like this exact same thing. A lot of people say this because it's true. But I mean, yeah, so when we're moving in emotions that are joyful, peaceful, that are loving, where we're able to reason with other people and speak our truth and have acceptance for those who are different, you can feel it. You can feel that it's expansive. You can feel our energy. Like, I mean, you would have to think that So if these lower energies are contracting us, then you would think that if it's happening physically in our body, then it would be happening within our electromagnetic field, our aura as well. And it's closing us. If the vortex is a thing, we're basically closing off our vortex. We're saying do not enter. I'm contracting right now. I'm trying to make myself small. I'm not in a state of reception. I'm not open to receiving right now. But then when we're moving in this expansive energy and we're just flowing with the synchronicities and we're moving in this energy of, of all these higher emotions, our body is expanding. You can feel it. You can feel that excited energy. And so you'd think that our body is expanding, our energy field must be expanding as well. So I think it's important also to, because when we are operating in these states of peace, love, and joy, and when we're moving through life in that way, it's like, it's a lot easier to bring the people up that are lower on the emotional feeling level, It's a lot easier to bring them up than for them to pull us down. And of course, you can get pulled into someone else's energetic um chaos, but at the same time, it's easier for someone who is operating in those higher emotions to pull someone up, even if for a moment. So we can't talk about all of this stuff, all of this frequency and things happening at subtle levels without factoring in the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto. And what is his book? The Healing of Water, Dr. Masaru Emoto. I think The Healing Energy of Water. And so if you're not familiar with his work, Google him. There's some great videos, there's some great information. I think that this is really great core knowledge and wisdom that, again, it's backed by science. It's got proof. There's evidence here. So what he did was basically, so imagine, okay, so you get cups of water, and on there he wrote all of these different things. Love and gratitude. He got another cup, he wrote honesty. And he got another cup, I can't do it. So he's taking cups of water, writing these phrases on them or words. And then what he does is putting the intention in the water through the words, takes it out, puts it under a slide of a microscope, freezes it, and these are the molecules. And so this is something that is just so fascinating, that shows how intention, how energy is so powerful. It can alter the structure of water molecules. And you see this list. There's you can find like pictures where it'll have like hate or ugly and all these, just kind of like lower vibrational words. But this one, there's just I can't do it. And you'll see how it's completely just fragmented. It's broken off. It's not whole. And let's look at these. These are really beautiful, symmetric, just snowflakes of, it's beautiful. And it really makes you wonder, like, oh, sorry, my hand was just covering, but it really makes you wonder, like, gosh, our words are so powerful. They can alter things energetically. And so you think about, our body is just made up of what, trillions and trillions, billion, however many cells, and our cells are susceptible as well to these subtle influences that we are presenting them with, that we have control over. So this biological encoding of information is electricity pulsing through our nervous system. Information about a person's emotional state is encoded in the heart's electromagnetic field, communicating through the body and radiating into the environment. It's this whole world that we're not able to see, but just because we can't see it does not mean it can't be measured with tools and that it's not there, because it's there. So most people think of communication through facial movements, voice qualities, and body movements. However, there is evidence that supports that there is a subtle electromagnetic or energetic communication happening just below our conscious awareness. And so now this is where we start kind of moving into seemingly psychic or extrasensory abilities. Because, I mean, it seems like we're based, like, so if you have a particular feeling about something, it seems like it's just a hunch, it's just a feeling, right? And so there's not, sometimes it could feel like, it can feel hard to really make a judgment because you kind of get in your head and you're like, well, I don't know why I'm feeling that. Maybe it's me, right? Or maybe we're actually tapping into the electromagnetic field and picking up on this energetic communication. Because look, I mean, all of this information, and remember that image I showed you from the beginning of the person in the vortex. So it's like we have all of this information floating around us in space, and that information enters our field. It goes into our body through our nervous system, and then it's our heart that is processing all, it's understanding what's going on. And so the more that we work with these subtle fields within ourselves, and I mean, Pluto, it, when you work with the energy of Pluto, it involves a great deal of isolation. We have to turn our awareness within. We have to allow ourselves to just be completely present and in silence at times. And especially with Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus is going to start entering Taurus, and or Uranus is going to start entering Gemini in 2025. And things are going to feel very loud, just static, incoherent information. And so it's important to be able to tune out of that and tap in, tap within, tap into this consciousness. And I believe with every ounce in my body, I truly believe that Pluto in Aquarius, it's going to be, we're going to be getting immersed with all sorts of new technology, and I mean new information too. But our body, like with it, we have inner technology that is really coming online right now through, I mean, our third eye, our pineal gland, or all of these other systems that we have, all of these other just tools, this technology. It's like this crystallization that's happening. It's like it's going from this calcification of Capricorn, calcification into this crystallization. And there's, I really believe that if you ever felt like you wanted to develop your spiritual gifts or understand what they are, now is such a powerful time, because this field that we're immersed in is just, it's beaming with information, and we're really able to tap into it. But it's just, it's so important that we support our own systems first so that we can create this state of coherence within our own body, because then we're really going to be able to process all of this information that we are immersed in. And gosh, I mean, what an exciting time to be alive. Like, I don't know, it's just, it's crazy. And it's like, this is Tesla code kind of energy. If you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. When I looked at Nikola Tesla's chart, I was surprised he didn't have any Aquarius in his chart, but he does have Uranus exactly where Uranus is now. And Pluto in his chart is where Jupiter is now, in the sign of Taurus. And so it's like this really incredible information revolution that's happening. So really tuning in and tapping in to understand, to yeah, I mean, this is the energy of the genius, and we're able to harness it. Because have you heard of when there's different inventions, whenever there are these big jumps in human, like, technological advances, there are people in different parts of the world that are getting that same download to create kind of the same thing. And I think that just goes to show how there is this field this oneness. We are one. It's the electromagnetic field. We're all in the same field, and it's like in this field, it's the collective consciousness. It's all of this information that we're able to tune our transmitters and receivers into to actually receive this information. So what has the future in store for this strange being born of a breath of perishable tissue, yet immortal, with his powers fearful and divine? That just feels like that kind of feels like a Pluto in Aquarius statement because, well, strange, first of all, born of a breath, the air. And I mean, it's like we really do have more powers than we probably understand, but also we might even fear our power. So we can enhance energetic communication we have to the world around us, which promotes the healing processes between people, deepens empathy, intuition, and extrasensory or psychic abilities. Once people understand how to self-generate, I think I think that was meant to say self-regulate, but I guess that could be used interchangeably. They become more attuned and are able to detect deeper meaning hidden behind words. So this is kind of going back to those circle graphs, like mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical, and understanding how we can bring our whole system into a state of coherence. And as we do that, we're enhancing this energetic communication as we are immersed in this world of energy. We're enhancing this ability to tap into the information that is in our collective consciousness or that is coming from another person. We're able to understand what's going on in our own fields, the fields of another. Um, and and so going back to Pluto, and are able to detect deeper meaning hidden behind words. Pluto and Aquarius, this, I mean, it makes me think so much of mystery schools, of just of yeah, hidden information being revealed. And I'm so excited. I'm just so excited what that means for us. So the nervous system is attuned and responds to the magnetic fields produced by the hearts of others. The Earth's field or the Schumann resonance and the energy emitted from the sun through solar flares, coronal holes, CMEs, coronal mass ejections. And this is the constant energetic communication that we are immersed in. Disruptions in these fields could adversely impact human health and behavior. So now this is another thing. This Pluto in Aquarius, this is coinciding exactly with the 11-year solar maximum cycle. And so when the solar maximum is occurring every 11 years and the sun's solar flares, I mean, when it's at its peak, when there's a lot of energy being emitted from the sun, it's impacting Earth's magnetic field, electromagnetic field. It's impacting our own. And this can cause disruptions through our nervous system. So whenever I talk about what's going on with space weather, I always say it's so important to really nurture and assist our nervous system because that's our antenna that's connecting us to this world around us. And yes, so this is so fascinating to me. I did not learn this until I was reading this book. So basically what we have here is the blue line is the yearly number of important political and social events such as the start of a war or revolutions, etc. The red line is solar activity indicated by the number of sunspots. So solar maximum basically. Well, I guess solar, okay, so yeah, when you see the peaks, that's at the times of the solar maximum. And so this chart, this is research that spans from 1749 to 1922. So almost 200 years. And also 72 countries were compiled, the histories of 72 countries. And it was found that 80% of the most significant events occurred during the solar maximum, which is 2024. It was supposed to be 2025, but it's looking like it's 2024 now. And so this correlates with highest periods of of geomagnetic activity. But look at how it's like this chart is crazy. It's the same. So when we're moving through times of intensified space weather, which is like we are now, and I consider these solar flares, Uranus is that planet that's that's really governing all of this information that's coming through in space. And so not only do we have, I mean, Uranus is going to be changing signs right around this time. And so in 2025. And so that's going to be, I mean, jolting and jarring in itself. And then with Pluto and Aquarius and with the solar maximum right now, um, I mean, I can't like I just can't imagine it. And this is like 200 years of evidence that just shows how correlated society is with the space weather. So all the more reason to create more coherence and harmony within ourselves. So yeah, this is just saying that the solar maximum is expected to arrive sooner. It was in 2019 when they had said initially that it was going to be in 2025, but now they're saying, well, it looks like the peak's going to be earlier than 2025, so 2024, stronger and longer. So this is going to be a big year in 2024, but it's the start of something bigger. So, okay, increased solar activity is correlated to, so not only is it impacting society, increased space weather activity, it's also impacting us individually through heart attacks, cardiovascular disease, depression, mental disorders, suicides, homicides, and traffic accidents. It impacts society, again, like we just mentioned this. So it can impact society through civil unrest, war, crime rates, violence, terrorist attacks, and revolutions. And don't forget, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was when we had the American and the French Revolution. So now you can see that there is so much potential all around us for so much chaos and incoherence. All the more reason for us to embody more of that within as we move through these times so that we can move through this energy in a state of balance and coherence. So, information is communicated non-locally between people at a subconscious level, which links all living systems and influences the collective consciousness. So, this is kind of like string theory, I believe, or telepathy. When coherently aligned people are intentionally creating physiologically coherent waves, they more effectively resonate with and encode information in the energetic fields. These fields act as carrier waves, positively influencing all living things contained within the field and the collective consciousness, because we are all in that one, that the oneness. And so this is, I mean, it really goes to show that it goes to show our power. Not only can we impact our own personal experience, our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health through moving in ways that is more coherently. And so, again, it's like, how do we handle the stress that we're faced with in our environment? And the way that we handle stress, I believe, will greatly dictate if we're going to be moving in a state of coherence or incoherence. Again, it's like when you have a stressful day, how do you remedy that? How do you support yourself as you move through stress? How do you support yourself when you are hit with these emotional triggers, when someone just really annoys you? How do you move through that? What do you do? And I think it's those choices that we make that will really dictate overall, are we moving in a state of coherence or incoherence? And so positively influencing all living things. So that's another thing. There is scientific evidence. And if you go into this book that I'm sharing with you right now, this information from the book, if you go into it, and there's other studies, there's evidence that shows that when there have been large groups of people meditating, it lowers the crime rate. Like there's a correlation to that. And again, it's easy to hear stuff like that and think it's just some kind of woo woo, some kind of just something to shrug off because we're not fully understanding it because we're not able to actually see it. But there is evidence that supports this. And so even though increased solar activity is associated with all of those destructive things, with chaos and all that, solar activity is also associated with human evolution, which human evolution, that's such a big Pluto and Aquarius topic. Because Aquarius, it's one of the signs that represents humanity. And Pluto, it brings transformation. It's human evolution, it's inventions, arts, science, and change. So outdated structures within our society will collapse as Pluto completely finalizes the transit in Capricorn on November 19th, 2024. Because don't forget, Pluto is going back into the sign of Capricorn September 1st until November 19th of 2024. And so we're really getting this taste. I mean, 2024 is taking us into we're moving more into Pluto and Aquarius, but we're still not completely finalized with Pluto and Capricorn. And it goes back to how I had mentioned that Aquarius follows Capricorn because Capricorn is those systems and structures, and Aquarius is bringing innovation to them. And yeah, and so I mean, even though it may seem like the world is in chaos, that there's civil unrest, that gosh, I mean, when you look at the world, it's like there are so many places, countries that are on the brink of a revolution. And it's like, how many, like, is the whole world about to be in a civil war if there's a large number of countries that are, it's crazy. But so this, though, is an opportunity to replace these old systems and bring the world back into a state of coherence. So quantum physicist John Hamilton conducted research on the power of the collective consciousness and concluded, since meditation provides an effective, scientifically proven way to dissolve individual stress, and if society is composed of individuals, then it seems like common sense to use meditation similarly to diffuse societal stress. It just makes sense because everything's fractals of each other, as within, so without. So I think this is another area that's going to continue to evolve. That's going to continue to evolve. It makes me think of in 2019, right before, this was actually right when the world leaders were probably planning 2020. This was November. It was 11/11, 2019. In Washington, D.C., there was, it was really cool. It was a whole bunch of different people that are big in this community. I mean, Forbidden Knowledge, Billy Carson was there. There were a lot of people that are on this journey of elevating humanity. And I mean, the whole thing, it was like an 11/11 meditation day. And I think that over the next 20 years with Pluto and Aquarius, and we really start to understand the power of our mind and the seemingly telepathic communication that we all have the ability to tap into, I think that this is going to be a focus, like a big focus again, is the power of mass groups of people coming together to meditate, to bring that state of coherence within themselves. And ultimately, it's going to be bringing it into society. And it takes less coherent people to be in a state of coherence and to bring those that are in a state of incoherence to a state of coherence than it takes for a large amount of incoherent people to create incoherence in the world. I don't know if I explained that in the best way, but it doesn't take that crazy of an amount of people to really make these energetic shifts in this world. And so it seems as though we have reached the end of this journey. So Yeah, so I hope you found something that I said valuable in this video. Like I said, I I I think that this is information that we can kind of use as a core understanding as we move through Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years. This is this is just, I mean, this transit is really transforming the world as we know it. And yeah, it's going to be a wild ride. I mean, when you think about Aquarius, it's space, right? It's aliens, it's the future, it's technology, it's I don't know, it's I can't imagine the changes that we're about to be immersed in. And we have, I mean, I think this is a very powerful opportunity to bring ourselves and this world into more of a state of coherence because it's getting more and more obvious as time passes by. It's getting more and more obvious how chaotic everything has become. And that's why we're seeing this world kind of on the wider world stage. That's why it's really seeming like a circus right now. And I mean, we're just in a space where something's got to change. So thank you so much for watching. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.